Okay, in today's interview, I am interviewing the author of actually probably my favorite book that I've read recently, and his name is Gary Collins. He wrote a book called Going Off the Grid, and he has a very interesting podcast and brand around living the simple life. This is someone that was in the military for a while and a follow that I really like on Twitter a lot. He talks about everything from politics to living the simple life and essentially escaping out of the system, escaping out of the matrix, which obviously is what our channel is all about. And more so, living sustainably, living off the grid. And so this can be an exciting interview. First, just want to say for everyone listening, please make sure you hit the like button on this side or this side right over there. Send this out to more people. We got all of Gary's info, Twitter, books, everything will be in the description. Last but not least, just a shout out to our channel sponsor, which is Vizsla Silver, one of my favorite silver stocks. So thank you to Vizsla and Vizsla Silver, and because they just changed their name. And so nice to see you, Gary.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Jake. You got, like I said, you have the first edition. The second edition's out, which is even better, way better.
All right,
Yeah,
cool.
no, I'm really proud of the second edition. That book was an accident. So it's an interesting story just how that book was written, to be honest with you. I tell the story. I was on a podcast, survivalist podcast of a friend of mine. I was the health guy. I started a health company. I was only in the military. I was a federal agent for a long time too. So I did half my life in the federal government by the time I left.
Huh.
But grew up dirt poor, made something of myself, didn't bitch and complain. Well, maybe some of the time. And, just gritted it out. Just was, I followed the American dream. I wanted to do better than what my circumstances were growing up. Not that they were terrible. I always say, no matter how bad you have it, someone's got it much worse. So suck it up. Quit bitching about it. You're never going to be ranked number one. My life is the shittiest in the world. So stop trying to pretend that you are. And, in that book, literally, I was talking paleo, primal health, ancestral health. That's one of my expertise. I'm a passionate athlete, health guy for decades. And I got a ton of emails and questions. He stopped, just goes, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" I'm like, "I bought 20 acres and built a house in Northeast Washington," and literally changed the whole trajectory of what I do for my business. Like I said, accidental. And so I started documenting my process. And this started a long time ago. The initial process started over a decade ago. I started building and bought the property about 8 years ago. So it's been a long time, and documented it, put it in a book, and holy cow, people liked it. And they still seem to like it.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic book. Like I told you, for those that don't, it's a really good book, and it's not just like some book that's just about how to live off a grid. It's really it's a lifestyle book, really about mentally, emotionally, spiritually escaping from a lot of the system that plagues a lot of us. So let me ask you, why did you decide to go off the grid in the first place?
Well, I grew up very rural. I grew up in a very small town in the middle of nowhere. You know Southern California area. Well, I grew up in a town called Lone Pine. It's a small little town on the way to Mammoth Mountain on 395. People are familiar with that area. There's nothing there. I mean, one stoplight. You go through, you may stay at a hotel if you're tired, get some gas, and that's about it. And, that kind of living growing up, it was hard. I mean, I grew up in a shitty trailer in the middle of nowhere. We were broke, we didn't have a whole lot of money, and, typical life. But the thing was, amazingly for us, was we were all poor. There was a few people who were middle class, but for the most part, everyone I grew up with, we were all poor. And so we didn't know. We filled our time with the typical things: hunting, fishing, riding bikes, playing basketball, killing each other, playing, tackle football out in a dirt field. I mean, we did it all. We were kids. We did this free range thing. There were no cell phones. There was no way to get a hold of us. There's no internet. It was pure freedom for a kid. And as you're growing up, though, you think, my life sucks. I'm poor. In a way, you go, why'd my parents move me out in the middle of nowhere? There's no girls around here. This sucks. And then later in life, you realize how lucky you actually were, because I learned a lot of valuable life lessons. First of all, I learned how to deal with myself. you have a lot of alone time when you live in the sticks. I mean, I didn't have any friends around me. I had to ride my bike a mile plus just to get to a friend's house. I think the closest friend was a mile. That was the closest. My main friend was 6 miles away.
Jeez.
So I'd have to get on my bike and, at 1 speed back in the day, little motocross bike and ride, pedal, get out there pouring sweat. Hey, you got water? I'm about ready to pass out. It's 101 out today. But learning that, and I went through the hunter safety course at 12. I had my first gun when I was 7, firearm, and all these, it was used, of course. I never had anything new. Everything was hand me down, used. And I still have my shotgun that I got for
No
Christmas when
way.
I was 12 or 13. I hunt with it to this day. It's still my primary bird weapon.
That's so cool. I'm planning to
Yeah,
give my daughter my first shotgun I bought eventually.
yeah, it's an Ithaca Featherlight for anyone who knows those. They were designed for women and kids back in the day, but it's funny how things have changed. That gun is still big. I mean, for a shotgun, I'm not a big guy, but I'm like, God, this thing's big. And even has the stock cut down on it and everything. But love that gun. Love it. Matter of fact, it's right in my general area right now. Not, not, you know, and and just living that lifestyle taught me a lot of lessons in life. And then going to college, doing what I was told, paid for it on my own, gritted it out, and went into the military. I had gotten accepted to the Naval Academy prep school as a youngster, but I had zero direction. So I turned it down and decided to pay for college on my own because I'm a genius at 18, 17, 8. And then enlisted in the military after I graduated from college. It was a very down economy. I've lived through, I want to say, 4 downturns of the economy now. So I've seen quite a few downturns. And just kind of that lifestyle, going back to it and going, it wasn't all that bad. It was quiet. I thought it kind of sucked, but it didn't. And kind of go, how do I get back to that kind of quiet living, simple living, self-reliance, and doing things on my own? And that's where it basically came back to. I was just looking to live more small town, more remote. And I thought, well, we lived pretty close to off the grid back then. All we had was power. That was it, run to us. And I went, you lived in San Diego. You'll like this story.
My whole life.
I don't know.
I just moved, so I lived there my whole
Yeah.
life.
Well, I've lived all over San Diego. I've lived in San Diego 5 different times in my life. So I've lived
Okay.
in La Mesa, Claremont, uh, Shadow Ridge, different parts of North County, La Mesa or Mira Mesa. I've lived all over San Diego. Stationed there in the military, was in law enforcement there. So, the last part, I bought a house I shouldn't have bought during the boom, and living for my house, typical. Had to fix it up because it was beat
You
to
mean
crap.
just a house that it was too expensive and you got in on the mortgage and it was just so you were
Oh
working
yeah.
all the time to pay for it? Yeah.
Well, and it was because I was in the government and I'd kind of lost my roots. I was living a little beyond my means. I bought a house that I shouldn't have bought at the time. And, just we were going through that drought. California goes through droughts all the time. But this was one of the ones where they finally said, hey, you can only water your lawns on, I want to say Tuesday, Thursday, yeah, at specific times. And, the moon had to be just right. And it was just complete utter bullshit. And so we all did, right? We all cut back. I remember I worked really hard. I had always been a conservation guy. So I already had low flow toilets, low flow shower heads. What I did is I did all my irrigation, redid it for drips, and did everything right. Did what they said, even though my system was efficient. I still had to play by the rules. You know what I mean? I was
Right.
already way ahead of the curve. So we did it right. And what was our reward at the end? They jacked our rates up. They said, you did such a good job, because I think they wanted a 25% reduction. I want to say it was around 33, 35% is what San Diego County actually did. So they said, well, we lost revenue through the utility company through, what is it? Who does the water? I remember PG&E does electric and waste. Can't remember who the water utility was. I'm sure a conglomerate of something. And they go, oh, we're going to raise your rates. I went, what kind of bullshit is that? You tell us to conserve, we do a better job, and our reward is a big foot in the butt. All right. So I kind of went, that was kind of the beginning of the end of city living for me in a way.
Interesting.
I just said and Southern California is really really
Super
expensive to live in.
expensive.
Yeah, people have no idea. 100 grand in Southern California is poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just said that, you know what, I'm going to do something off the grid because I don't want to be tied to these greedy utility companies. Not only that, but they've been jacking our electric rates forever. Brownouts, blackouts. It's just ridiculous. At times you felt like you were in a third world country, but paying to live in Bel Air. And so that's where kind of that genesis started of the off grid to take it another step further. It started rural, then it went to, hey, let's experiment and let's do something off grid. Why not?
Interesting. So let me ask you right now, we're in obviously a pretty weird situation. The lockdowns have caused, I don't know how many millions of people that have lost their jobs. The data on how many people are foreclosed or they're not foreclosed on because it's illegal, but they're behind on their mortgage, they're behind on their rent. And, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's also a loss of freedoms that's occurring. And out of everything that you've learned, in this book, you also detail the process of like, you go down into your budget and your savings and making the shift. What would you say are the most important things that you learned that you think someone listening to this, that maybe they're not going to go move to Montana and make the bears their neighbors next week, but they recognize the importance of simplifying their life. And even if it's not sustainability totally in terms of living off the grid, but living a more sustainable life, period, where they're more self-reliant on their own finances, on their own health. What do you think are the most important things that are from the things that you've learned throughout your life that are relevant right now with everything going on for us?
Yeah, it's weird. I ended up being way ahead of the curve of what I do. And it was lonely. When I started this adventure, trust me, I think I had one of 3 off-grid books on all of Amazon. Now there's hundreds. I guess I created a wave. Yeah, it's weird to be at the forefront and people think you're loaded and rich. I go, it doesn't work that way. For me, there was quite a few things to unpack. And I think the biggest one at the very beginning is we don't have an earning problem in this country. We have a spending problem. I was included. And that's one thing I'm known for. I'm very direct and honest in everything I do. I share a hell of a lot more information than a lot of other people. And it's a lot of bad far as, you know what I mean? I share the good and bad. Most people just like to share the good and go, look at me, I'm so successful. Don't you want to be just like me? I go, no, hey, I had to run in the mud and crawl through the mud to get here. I'm going to give you that story too. And for me, it was realizing that I just was spending too much money and I was doing much better financially than the average American. But even I realized I've gotten off course. This is ridiculous. So I sold my house, took a big loss on it, became debt free. And I own my house. See, I own everything. So I own my off-grid house. I own my truck. I own my RV. I own my land where I'm building right now. I own everything. I don't owe anyone anything. And I like that rule. Not to say that I don't leverage money here and there that the banks, I'll use the bank as much as they use me. But that's more what you teach. It's more advanced. You better know what the hell you're doing if you're going to go in that world. You get yourself in a ditch real quick. But it was the fact that I had enough money. I just need to reprioritize the things that were important to me. So when I sold that house, I sold damn near all my belongings on top of it. I sold everything. So I kept the vitals, the dogs, the bikes, the tools. That was basically what I kept. Everything else went. And being more self-reliant, growing up as a kid, I'd learned some valuable lessons, but they'd gotten away from me a bit. And so I went, I don't want to have to be beholden to contractors. And I'd learned skills. I'd remodeled houses, flipped a couple places. Real estate was my side hustle in the government because I kind of knew in the back of my mind this government thing, a little dicey at times. And I had an entrepreneur mind anyway. People would be shocked that I love my country. I don't regret, you know, representing my country, working for my country. But at the same time, I didn't fit in real well. I was a problem solver. I liked going in and making things better. That is not our government, and it's terrible today. No one wants you fixing anything today, period. And I kind of learned that as I went along. That's kind of part what forced me out too,
Huh.
was that I was a cog in the wheel and no one gave a shit. No one cared if I saved our department 10 grand. No one cared. And I went, this is ridiculous. I got to go do something else. And so with that, you know, doing and becoming more self-reliant, well, that off-grid project, well, guess what, man? There ain't no one who knows how to build off-grid houses. Or there are some companies now, but back then,
Yeah.
man, I looked around. There was people said, "Oh yeah, I'm building a house off the grid." Da, da, da. They get up there and they go, "Oh yeah, yeah, I've never done this before." So I had to learn a lot of this stuff from scratch. So I just learned I can build an entire house, start from finish, plumbing, electrical. I can do all of it now. You know, I can lay a slab. Do I want to? No, but I know how to do it. And you know, and I think that was part of it too, is learning these new skills, woodworking skills, you know, building things that I'd never built before. And those are essential, you know, learning new things to keep your mind busy. And people are shocked that they think I've talked about my efficiency. I'm very efficient at what I do now. I don't burn 13 hours a day working. I go, first of all, I don't have the bandwidth for it. I'm a human. I'm not wired for 13 hours of nonstop work. I'm not. Every human on this planet is not wired for that. We're wired for hunting, gathering, downtime, family, enjoying. That's what we're wired for. This whole shit we're in right now is very unique, very new. But I would spend, you know, about 5, 6 hours working and then I'm done. Like when my brain's done, I just stop. I go, I can't do anymore. I'm just going, I'm doing less than more at this point. So I go outside. Then I'll spend the rest of the day outside until it gets dark, working on projects, cutting down trees, chopping firewood, building, you know, putting up my wind turbine. I did it all by myself, built the stanchion, did everything. And that stuff is rewarding. And I think as humans, a lot of people are missing that, building things with your hands, seeing an accomplishment and looking at it and go, not only did I do that, it only cost me about 15 cents on the dollar as if I would have hired someone to do it. And they probably would have done a way shittier job, you know?
Hmm.
So that I think those big lessons of, you know, getting more in touch with the things that make you happy, learning new skills, being more self-reliant, and learning we got plenty of money. Money's not the issue. We're the richest country in the world by far. I always talk about this. I don't know if you've analyzed this, but I've done the math. My financial freedom book is all done with basic math: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. And I prove that every American has the potential to be a millionaire. Every single American, no matter what your socioeconomic status is, no matter college level, it doesn't matter. We are lucky in this country. Every person has the opportunity to be a millionaire. If you make $15 an hour, which is what they're pushing, which I can't afford you as an unskilled laborer, I can't afford 15 bucks an hour for my company. So I'm not hiring you. I can't have you walk in and I've got to spend 3 weeks training you because you have zero skills and pay you $15 an hour. And I'll make it even better. I know it's long winded, but this will be better at the end. That's $31,200 a year if you work 40 hours a week.
Okay.
That puts the minimum wage, non-skilled labor in this country, in the richest 1% in the world. Let that sink in, people. You making minimum wage makes you one of the richest people in the world making minimum wage in the US. I live off and have lived off the last 2 years less than the minimum wage, $15 minimum wage. I figured out I'm roughly living off $24,000 a year.
Nice.
Yeah. And hey, I'm in my RV. I've been
Yeah.
living in an RV for 8 years. This will probably be the last year of it, but I did that to save money. It's in between. And, you know, I've saved a ton of money living in my RV, selling my house and living in my RV. The reason I live off 24,000 now, I don't want to make it sound better than this. I invest all of my extra money in my company.
Hmm.
So I don't invest anymore. I invest in myself. 100% right now is in me and my company. That's where I put my money right now.
Hmm.
So that means I have to do more with less. I'm living off 24 grand a year, people. I have 3 degrees. Halfway through my life, I've got, best-selling books, all that. If I can live on 24 grand and I'm not suffering, I'm not starving to death, I eat grass-fed beef, I live a great life, I'm healthy as I can be. We got our priorities all screwed up. And with that, that's what I mean. We make plenty of money in this country, but we keep asking for more. We got enough. You need to start living with less and start paying attention to the things that matter. That's probably the biggest lesson I got out of all this. I know that was very long-winded, but
No, that's beautiful, man. When I especially that last part, when I read your book, it was kind of like it almost felt like a little self-healing. Like it like touched like the deep part of my soul. And so I actually didn't know you had a financial book too. So I'm going to buy that today. I'll read it. And then let's talk again. I'll bust out a bunch of notes and we'll do another episode on that. So for everyone that's interested, leave a comment down below for that. And I'll go ahead and I'll break that down. And I think it's super important, right? I mean, that's why the average American is what, $10,000-$15,000 in credit card debt. As you're saying, we have no purpose in life. We don't know why we're doing what we're doing. And we truly don't have any sense of meaning. And so we're just filling everything up with buying stuff, which only enslaves us more.
yes. Well, we've become the ultimate consumer, and that's exactly how the system wants us to play. And I would say this from some bullshit perspective of guy who surfs the internet and is on Facebook all day. I lived it. I just don't know how the sausage was made. I was a sausage in the government. I worked in various agencies. I had a top secret clearance for 20 years. I did protection. I protected some of the most powerful people all over the world. I heard the conversations. I saw what goes on firsthand. Americans would be absolutely more appalled than they are already. And that's why I had to transition out. And I realized that I better do for myself, because the government, if I'm relying on the government to take care of me, I'm in deep trouble. And so that's what kind of pushed me into this lifestyle. It wasn't to disappear. It wasn't to poop in a bucket, have 55-gallon drums of potatoes and pancake batter. That's not, if people see how I live, you can go, I'll give them a little gift. I'm very careful with my information. I have a special link that you can go and you can see all my projects. It's not on Facebook. It's not on social media. You have to have the link. It's not password protected, but you have to know the link. It's the simpelifenow.com/off-grid pics. You go there, you can see my property, you can see my house, you can see all the building phases. I documented the entire thing. But I give it as a special offer, and the link's in the second edition of Going Off the Grid, the new version. It's not in the first edition that you have. That was an old company when I wrote that. That was
really? I guess it had a bunch of reviews, so I figured that was the so simpelifenow.com/off-grid tips. I'll put that in the
no pics. Off-grid
pics. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll put that in the description for everyone to check out. So let me ask you, you said something that I thought was interesting, which was that you are investing everything into your business. And, on this channel, I really made this as an extracurricular activity. I have my main business and everything like that. And I just feel like, one, I wanted to grow my own learning. And two, this was too different than my main business it wouldn't help. And so, I believe in self-reliance, not just, off the grid living, but everything. And one of those cornerstones to me is a business. And, there's a lot of talk about what to invest in. Should you buy gold? Should you buy silver? Should you buy Bitcoin? Should you buy Tesla stock? Here's this real estate hack that you're going to make a bunch of money on. And I always say, we talk a lot about precious metals and things like that on this channel, but I always say the number one thing is a business. And I think that everyone thinks they're going to get their financial freedom by buying this thing or buying this thing. And so I appreciated you saying that. And I was hoping, you could discuss that. And first of all, do you agree with me on that? And second of all, could you go in a little bit more into your business journey and developing it? I think a lot of people feel overwhelmed by it. But I think it's especially seeing everyone losing jobs and the government locking people in their houses and whatever. I think that this is a wake up call. And I always preach on this channel, start a business. Even if you make $500 a month or $200 a month, just start it.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you there. I was lucky. I had a good, they were a tax person, but eventually became my accountant, who I still have to this day for decades now. Good friend of mine. That I started a side business because I knew eventually I would transition out of the government and would have to find something else to do. And I started off, I wanted to be an architectural engineer. I went to San Diego State. They didn't have the program. I was too poor and too stupid to get into school that I could pursue that. So I always liked architecture. I always liked houses. I always liked building. So I started a real estate company on the side. And I did it just purely, I put together an LLC. I filed my own paperwork, figured it out. And I started a business, even though I wasn't really technically doing it in the beginning, but I put together the business structure as a way to get started. Even though I had a full-time job, I knew that. But guess how long ago I started that? It's been 25 years ago. So this evolution, I planned ahead, well before I ever left. So I knew how to start a company. I knew how to file my own paperwork. I knew the nuts and bolts by the time I got out of the government to start into another
And you got
direction.
your training wheels while you still had a 9-to-5 full-time job.
And a lot of us talk about this, entrepreneurs, of don't quit your day job.
Yeah.
The best time to find another job is when you have a job. But if you're going to be an entrepreneur, the best time to be an entrepreneur is when you got a good job and stay in it until you can slowly eke your way out. I've lost count of people who quit their job, they took a course, and they're bankrupt because that's not how it works. If you want to start a company and you're not a unicorn, unicorns are, you read about them, we love to hear about them, but they're really, really rare in the real world, especially as an entrepreneur. And there's usually a lot of things behind the curtain that if you dig, as a former investigator, so I can smell bullshit a mile away of these people, stand next to their Ferrari and all that, that it takes a long time. I'm an overnight success that took a decade. It's over a decade now. And I'm still grinding. And people go, well, that doesn't sound simple or fun. I love what I do. I love what I do. I don't worry about waking up I do worry about waking up in the morning sometimes. I'm getting older, but you know what I mean? I get out of bed and I don't dread my days. I don't have the Sunday blues. I do what I want to do today to a certain extent. You still got to suffer. That's part of life. And I think if you have that attitude that when you have a job and you start a business on the side, you're getting paid, and you get to create a business. The best way to do it is if you like to get a job in something you enjoy and then create your own business in some subcategory or something of that, because then you're getting paid to get trained, to build your own business. And I always recommend that. And another thing is, one thing I've found, and I'd like to hear your opinion on this, Jake. I only have contractors. I don't have employees because I have very little faith in the average employee today, to be honest with you. And plus, I can't afford $15 an hour for a guy to, search the internet and get me scheduled for podcast interviews. That's who doesn't know how to do it. That treat the job you're in right now as if you own the company. I know it's hard. Some people are really being treated like crap in their job right now. But treat it as if it's your own company. Run your employment as you are the owner. And what you do is it will build those skills that you need and the discipline. The one thing I have found today with most entrepreneurs is they lack discipline, period. If you think you're going to get up whenever the hell you want to get up, you're going to roll around in your robe, your hair poking every which direction till 5 p.m, you will fail. Unless you're a coder and that's your gig, I'm telling you, you will fail. You need a schedule. You need discipline. You need to have a work schedule every day. You need to know what you're doing. And most people go willy-nilly. They treat their job like crap. They take all those terrible skills and habits that they put together working for someone else, and they transition those right into their own job, into their own business. I've seen it time and time again.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, this is good stuff. I mean, that's why I mean, I really just kind of made this for fun. And the reason I made it was because people just, I don't think we're prepared. And I do the same thing. I think I have 6 or 7 people that work for my main business. The only one who's employed is my wife. Everyone else works for me, but everyone's 1099. And it's great for them
Yeah.
too, because, then I can teach them. Like I hired my best friend, and I taught, I said, hey, look, you're going to incorporate, you're going to be able to get tax advantages, you're going to be able to use your home as an office, you're going to be, and I broke it all down. And so it helps them to learn more about the entrepreneurial journey as well. And they actually get to keep more of their money as well because of the tax advantages that come with, essentially, they're their own entrepreneurs. And so I think that when that begins to happen, everyone makes big shifts. And I really agree with you. I always say, treat your job like an investor. And I coined that phrase with my wife because she hated her job. She worked 40 hours a week, and she's a wood burning artist. She does like 9-foot mandalas. They're super rad. And she wanted to do that, but she had a full-time job, and she had never sold an art piece. And so I said, this was like 8 years ago, start treating your job like an investor. So she went from saving nothing to saving 50-60% of her paycheck, and eventually had enough money to cut her hours by 20%. And then she would use that 20% hours she cut to start building her art business. And then, like Jim Rohn says, keep your part-time job till you make more money from your part-time job than your full-time job.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Jim Rome's great. And you brought up a couple very good points, and I forgot to dig into that a little bit, but that's what my accountant was telling me is, hey, you need to take advantage of the tax situation. You're making too much money. Figure something out. And he goes, start your own company. That way you can do other things and write it off. Nothing illegal, nothing shady. And what I learned my time in the government is, especially, we're in an oligarchy period. When I was in the government, it was no different. It's just more in your face today. I got to see all these special deals and meetings of people. Why are they meeting with Joe Blow of such and such company? Well, go figure. And that what I learned was, why am I playing by different rules? All these rich people that I look around at, all these politicians, they don't play by any of the rules, period. Yeah. And I go, well, why am I? Long as I'm within the law and I'm not doing, and don't get me wrong, these people are doing criminal activities, real shady stuff. I don't do that. And I do not tell you to do that. What I'm saying is, why not use a lot of the same tax advantages that they're using as a small guy? Why would I not do that? Why would, I'm not a Trumper, but why would, when Donald Trump, they go, well, you don't pay all your fair share of taxes. And he goes, what do you think? I'm an idiot? Of course I don't. That's why, I have an accountants and lawyers. Why would I pay more taxes than I have to? And I think a lot of Americans are stuck in that too, is we're paying a lot more taxes than we need to. And the middle class and the lower class, it's regressive right now. The way the tax system works, it's very regressive. So the people who get hit the hardest, guess who they are? They're people like us, the workers. We're the doers. We're the people who get shit done, not politicians. Not, you think Jeff Bezos will go out and put up his own woodshed? You think he has any idea how to do any of that? No, he knows how to screw you and make more money. I know I'm hard on Amazon. I'm an author. I'm waiting to get all my books booted off. But there's examples of that. These companies, big companies, and these politicians play so many games. And I'm like, hey, long as I'm not hurting anyone, how about me? How about I get the benefit of my own work? I feel taxation is theft. I really do.
Same.
But I'm all the more willing to pay it if it's fair. What's fair? A flat tax. Well, guess what's never going to happen? A flat tax, because it's fair. So with the rules that are there, I would recommend for anyone right now who has a job and they're looking to start something, just go start an LLC, sole proprietorship. Just get it on paper. You may never use it. You may have to cancel it. It's not hard. It's a couple forms you fill out, you send them in. and it deregisters your LLC. It's not a big deal. Or if you got the money, hire a lawyer or an accountant. They'll do it for you for like 2,500 bucks. That's what I would recommend. I think every person who has the mindset of more self-reliant should start a company right now. Right
Even
now.
if you do massage work, I mean, it's the same thing. You might work for
Yeah.
Massage Envy, but start your own company and just get 2 extra gigs a month. Not only that, but then you get different tax benefits and you get the wheels working. I remember when I had one of my first kind of mentors that helped me out. I was doing everything I was doing, but it was so unprofessional. And I was just kind of, I'd go here. And she said, you have to incorporate a business. Something weird will happen once you do. You're going to take yourself more seriously and money will start showing up. And that's what happened. Once I incorporated, my business went to a whole nother level. And it also just taught me a lot too. So I'm really glad that we got to discuss this, because to me, self-reliance isn't just, I live in the middle of the woods and I can eat food and hunt and eat berries. There's so many components. There's the health component, right? Which is obviously we're seeing that shaping out this year. There's so many people that have neglected their health forever, and now they're scared to leave their house because of it. Then there's the people that have no reliance on their finances. They're reliant on hopefully their boss never firing them. That's not freedom either. And so to me, it's this whole 9 yards. What would you say are the most important cornerstones to self-reliance?
It's funny you bring that up, because when I wrote Going Off the Grid, like I said, I was a health company. I was doing one-on-ones with clients, strength and conditioning with athletes who were looking to go to major universities. I had a totally different business model, and that Going Off the Grid switched everything. Well, here we are years later. I have the Simple Life series book series. There's 6 books in that, and they touch on, RV living, mobile living, nomad living, health, finances, good habits, financial freedom. I know I'm missing something in there. Oh, Decluttering Your Life, which is my favorite book.
Oh, cool.
I love that book. I just did the 2nd edition of that. And so the off-grid stuff is a little separate. It's under the umbrella, but what had happened during that journey is I had the 5 principles of what I taught in health. Well, they transitioned into what I did because they totally fit in. But what was happening as I built my business is I was confusing people a bit. I think I was confused too, because I would get the, I love what you do, but man, there's a lot of pieces in there. And I went, okay, what am I doing wrong? And how can I boil this down to make it make sense, not only for them, but for me too?
Mm-hmm.
I'd done a poor job of getting my message across. So 15 minutes before I was going to go on stage, I speak at all the Mother News fairs. Those got canceled. We're trying to restart them. Hopefully I'll be speaking at them again. And I'll be at Freedom Fest, Jake. So you guys go there. I'll be at Freedom Fest in July, a speaker there. But I went, okay, let me boil this down. So I came up with the 3-legged stool of the simple life. And this thing, since I put it out, I'm unbelievable how well it did. I was like, everyone really likes it. Optimal health. That's first. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. Mm-hmm. Everything in your life starts with your health. And in America, we're getting our ass kicked. Mm-hmm. We are the most obese, unhealthiest nation in the world by far. And that doesn't mean COVID. That doesn't mean any of that. You just pure health. We are the unhealthiest nation in the country, in the world by far. We are the most obese. We are huge. Americans are massive. I'm not being a jerk. I'm being honest. I'm a health guy. We're enormous. And then, you get that, you move on to financial freedom. Because like I said, you get your health in order and a lot of clarity starts to kick in. You start to think better. You start to have better relationships. You start to sleep better. All this stuff builds upon itself. But it's hard. It ain't easy. Then you go to financial freedom by being debt free. Then, get your finances in order. Learn how to live off less. I'm going to tell you right now, you want to get a good night's sleep every night, be debt free. I have never slept better for the last decade than I ever have in my life because I don't worry about money. There's one thing I don't have to worry about, period, money. Do I worry about it a little bit? Yeah, I guess. But I know that everything's taken care of. If all of a sudden my income drops off a cliff, I can go out work at, the feed store and I'll be fine. I pay all my bills. I can live my life. That's freedom. That's big time freedom. Then the third leg is finding your life purpose. Why are we here? The big question, right? Floating around on this rock in this infinite black void of we don't know. So why are you worried that your friends didn't invite you to the little group party on Facebook? Who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. We need to start focusing on being good stewards of humans. We need to be better humans. We're very egocentric. We're very selfish. We like to treat each other like absolute crap. I don't know why that is. Any organism on the face of this planet, humans treat each other the worst by far. And I don't get it. We should be living in nirvana right now. We're in paradise. I mean, we've got this dialed in, but we just torture ourselves. So with that three-legged stool, though, what it does is it pulls all those things in, the three main things that are making us unhappy. But there's a side effect of it as well that I didn't catch when I first started it. Those are the three things that big business and big government's taken away from us willingly. We have willingly given away those three items to big business and big government. And once we take them back, they don't have a whole lot of power on us. If you're debt free, what do the financial institutions have on you? Nothing. You're not in the game. You're not playing with them. And again, I'm not talking about investing, making more money, leveraging money. I'm talking about having to have a mortgage, having to have a car payment. Who says? Who says I have to have those things? That's how these people get rich and I get poor. That's how it works. It's a zero-sum game. And so once you kind of, and I always say too, there's no money in healthy people. We spend a ton of money on health in this country to be the most unhealthiest country in the world. It's your responsibility to be healthy. It's not your doctors. It's not the government's. It's not the nanny state. It's your responsibility. You need to take control of your health. I can't make it any plainer than that. I'm not saying don't have a doctor, don't go to the hospital when you're sick. I'm saying you won't do it very often if you get your health in order. I only go to the doctor when I absolutely have to. Most people have to go to the doctor 5, 6, 7 times a year for all kinds of things. They're on multiple prescriptions that will make them blind, shit their pants, and eventually die sooner. You know what I mean? I used to work for the FDA, so I kind of have some inside knowledge of how the pharmaceutical industry works. Your health is not even close to the top 10 of their priorities. I'll be honest with you. I dug into the pharmaceutical industry a little bit on my podcast. I'm about ready to dig deeper. Wow. It's nasty. And I'll probably be dead tomorrow, but that's okay. So if you get those things in order, not only will your life be better, but you've just returned the power that we've willingly given away. Just think if us as Americans, we decided to do all this in the next 6 months, I guarantee this would be a very different environment than what we're living in right now. Because what are they going to do to you? Yeah, what are they going to do to you?
Nothing. Yeah, that's beautiful, man. I mean, it's easy, especially with the way they've designed the propaganda. It's easy to spend all of your energy focusing on things you actually can't control. Whether it's that you want someone in your zip code to think more like you, whether it's you want this politician to be dead or be different, whether you want this to occur or that to occur. It's so designed to get us stuck on the emotional realm. And that, to me, that is the matrix. And so all of our energy is focused on things we literally cannot control. And the ironic thing, as you stated, is once we take control of those three pillars, our health, we take control of our finances, we get out of our unnecessary debt. Hopefully we start a business. And last, we find purpose, we find meaning, we find joy, we find our own happiness. Then the ironic thing is if this happens in mass, the outside structures of our world will change to reflect the shift in our collective consciousness, which is obviously incredibly low at the moment. But yeah, amazing stuff. I'm looking forward to reading your new your financial freedom book and having you back on and discussing more. This is really the message that I want to get out on this channel. I think there's a lot of good, fantastic takeaways for the audience here. In conclusion here, why don't you give us what's something for somebody who's fired up and they're like, all right, Gary just kind of slapped some inspiration on me. I feel like there's some things I can do with my finances. There's this business that I want to start and I haven't taken it seriously. I've gained 30 pounds in 2020 sitting in my house and I'm not taking my health seriously. So I feel fired up. What should I do now, Gary?
Well, I think that three-legged stool is very powerful. And like I said, I didn't see that coming, and I get the emails. I get letters. I mean, I just got a letter from a guy in the UK, wrote me a letter and sent it overseas to me, telling me he appreciates. I'm blown away. I'm Gary, the dumb redneck from the middle of nowhere. I am no one special. I am not a genius. I am just a normal, everyday person who just had an ability to interpret information. And I think that was part of being an investigator and working in intelligence. It kind of helped me out. I got a really good bullshit meter. And I kind of realized that we're being sold a bill of goods. And right now, we got a lot of melancholy. We got a lot of people who are depressed. What you have to look at is you have to look at the flip side of we still live in the freest country in the world. And it's up to you. We have free will here. I've been to countries that people do not have free will. It's very depressing. But even they seem to be happier than us in most cases, which is ironic. But focus on the things that matter, ignore the rest, right? You know, people go, well, you didn't vote the last two elections. Yeah, I told you that. I admitted to it. I go, I'm tired of picking the worst of two evils. I need to vote for myself, my community. We need to start from the ground up. We have a lot of people, and this was me as well, looking at everything on the outside and blaming, go, why don't you fix that? You need to fix that. Why is this all screwed up? How about you go look in the mirror? That's where the problem starts. That's exactly where the problem starts in this country right now. It's us. We need to fix our house, get our shit together first. Then you can worry about other people, other institutions. Because if you don't fix yourself, you're never going to be able to fix anything else, right? Start there. It's not hard. That three-legged stool, it's very simple. It's not easy. Actually, I put together a journal, a 365-day journal this year with about a book of content in it, and you go every single day. So it's not, you don't start it at New Year's. You start it when you get it. That's the point of it. New Year's is stupid. You should be changing your life for the better every single day. And so I built this thing, but I'm sorry, guys, it's not for sale right now. I only sell it twice a year. But I also did release the Going Off the Grid courses. Those are out. I just got those out, and I'm building courses for everything I do. So I'm trying to help people, but look to people. I think one of the biggest things, I know I'm going long here, but it's convoluted today. The biggest problem we have, I think, also is I call false prophets. And I outline this in a couple of my books. We're following the wrong people. That's a huge problem. And I'm not saying follow me. I'm not the greatest. I'm not the top of the pile. And I'm the smartest guy in the room. I think I'm the dumbest guy in the room. I just sit around the corner and I watch everyone else. That's what I do. But with that, you need to follow people who are doing things that you want to do and are good at them. I don't know how many people I've met. They go, have you read such and such book? Or have you taken this course? Do you read? I go, you do realize those people have no background in any of that. None. They go, what do you mean? I go, you think that guy's a millionaire because he invested wisely? No, he's a millionaire because he sold you a bunch of crap. That's how he got rich. He didn't get rich by making money telling you to do what he said he did. He got money selling you the crap. Focus on the people who are doing things. Focus on the people who make you better. I wouldn't be here today if I didn't follow mentors and people who taught me lessons. And a lot of them were painful. I'm going to tell you right now, I had more than one person call my shit out. Say, you're being an idiot. What are you doing? And I'm all, what? Oh, now you got my attention. And that's kind of what we need. We want everything soft, easy. We want to go from, living in an apartment, barely getting by to being rich 6 months from now. It doesn't work that way. You got to put in the hard work. That's the part we're trying to skip, is we're trying to skip the failures and hard work. We're trying to get right to the prize. So I think if you kind of focus on that, it will help a lot. Just get that mindset of, and ignore the unicorns. So ignore the false prophets, follow the people who are doing and who are honest. That's the biggest thing. There's a lot of dishonest people out there today. I hate to be that way, but there just are. Find someone you can believe in who's doing it. They may not make $1 million a year. Heck, they may not make 100 grand a year, but they're doing it. They're doing it right, and you can learn from them. Follow those people. Follow the people who can teach you something. Heck, your next door neighbor could teach you something. And don't go for the glittery stuff. Would you agree, Jake, that we have a problem just jumping on shiny things? The thing that's popular right now, instead of thinking about and going, is that going to help me?
To me, that goes back to kind of your pillars too, which is the last one on purpose. And I think that has to do with having no idea who we are and having no idea how to create our own self-reliance. And I think that's what happens, right? Is like, then we think, my $4,000 I put in Bitcoin is going to make me a millionaire. My this amount of money in gold is going to make me retired in 18 months. And that's why I think having a business is important too, because we get to know ourselves. It creates our own self-reliance, and we're not following every trend anymore. And, I think that's powerful. You definitely did not disappoint me today. I absolutely loved your book. I don't even know how I found you originally. It must have been on Twitter. And I was like, this guy looks pretty cool. And I bought the book. And as soon as I got it, I opened it up, read it in bed in I don't know, 1 or 2 days. And I loved it. Like I said, it was kind of cathartic. I felt it was really refreshing. And so for everyone listening, I encourage you to give Gary a follow over on Twitter. Check out his books. I'm going to now go ahead. I'll go buy your finance book. I'm going to break it down, and then let's discuss that here soon. I think it would be really valuable for everyone. There was a lot of fantastic stuff in here that I know a lot of people are going to get value from. So if you did, please go ahead and hit the like button there. Hit the like button there. Give us a comment down below and let us know maybe the number one thing you learned from this video. And Gary, I'll toss it over to you in conclusion.
Yeah, I'll end it with this. As an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur, I am, is we need to start supporting each other. And I pushed this very hard. I'm an author. I have to be on Amazon. I've been fighting for the last 2 years to figure out how to be an author and a good selling author without relying on that platform. The way you do it, and a lot of us in my circles, I buy my books from a small bookstore, the mom and pop. I want to support them. Keeps money in my community. I know they're going to do good with it. But come to my website. I sell every book worldwide. Digitally, I can sell worldwide now. I just did that. Courses, digital books, but the hard copies I can't. I got a guy in Canada right now who's working on distributing my stuff in Canada. But come to my website, thesimplelifenow.com, and go there and buy my books from me. I invest that money back in my company. So I can write more books, so I can continue to put together more courses. That's how we do it too. And people struggle with that today because we've got that instant gratification. They go, well, I'll just order that from Amazon. Well, how does that help your community? How does that help that author? Not much. So if we can focus on that too, supporting each other and supporting our own businesses, that's a big help. And I don't want Amazon to burn down or anything like that. I just think I use Amazon when I can't find it anywhere else. I'll buy it on Amazon. But everything else I buy directly from the company or the companies that I know. That's what I do. I try and support my small businesses.
Beautiful. Good stuff. It was a pleasure to meet you. For everyone listening, hit that like button, give us a comment down below, and be sure to head over and go to Gary's website. Check out the books there, and we'll have Gary back on to discuss the financial book, which sounds like it'd be perfect for our channel.
Well, thanks for having me on, Jake. I appreciate it.